Hi, and in this VDMX tutorial, we're going to take a look at using one of these OREI video wall controllers to take a single 4K HDMI stream and split it up into 4 separate displays. So to get started, I want to just go over quickly the signal flow of how I'm getting VDMX to output to the video wall controller and then bringing that back in so that you can see it on the same computer screen. So essentially I have my Mac. Over HDMI, I'm sending a single 4K stream to this video wall controller. It is then breaking it up into 4 separate HDMI outputs. And then I'm bringing that into a 4:1 quad viewer, which is bringing in those 4 HDMI streams and then essentially stitching them back together into one video stream that is going out over HDMI. And then I'm bringing that into a Camlink 4K HDMI capture device. And then over USB, I'm bringing that back into my Mac. So let me show you how that works and what that actually looks like. So to get started, I'm going to click on templates and I'm going to choose the 4-layer VJ starter. And if you look at this, you'll actually notice that the 4-way VJ starter is going to give me 4 different layers. And to make sure that each of these layers doesn't have a different input resolution, let's say we're bringing in different file types, maybe images or ISF shaders, and they have different resolutions. I want them to all scale up to the same output size. And that'll just make it a little bit easier when I'm arranging these compositions. So to do so, I'm just gonna select a layer and then I'm gonna click group selected layer. So that's group 1. I'll do it with this one, group 2, group 3, and group 4. And the main reason I'm doing that is because you can see whenever I select these groups that it'll set the overall output resolution. So I'm going to change these to 1920 by 1080. I could leave them on the 1280 by 720, but I want to get the full resolution out of VDMX for each of the images that is going out. So 1920 by 1080. And just for good show, I'll make my main canvas 1920 by 1080 as well. Okay, so now I'm going to click on Video In, and I mentioned using the Camlink to give you like a live preview of this. If I click Enable, it's actually going to show me the extended desktop here inside of VDMX. And one of the fastest ways to open up a new preview or create one is to click on one of these little eye icons. And I'm just going to click Open Preview, and then I'm going to take this new preview, expand it, and I'm going to select the input. I'm going to change it to Camlink 4K. So now we have a live preview of what we're seeing on the second monitor. The fastest way to open up the full screen options is to hit Command F. And if I do so, you'll notice that there are 3 tabs. There's Window, which sometimes if you open up VDMX or if it's your first time, you might see this preview window available here, which you can adjust. Full Screen, which is then going to allow you to enable or disable the full screen output of this. So right now, all 4 of these layers are essentially being blended onto that full screen. And if I want, I can also, other than enable and disable, I can flip horizontally and vertically. And if you have a projector or something like that. And then we're going to click on the Advanced Output tab. So this is a similar layout to what my computer's arrangement is. So right now I have my screen on the left, and on the right I have the 4K HDMI output. Another way to look at that, or even if I want to change that, I can click on the system settings and I can go to displays. And then here, if I click on arrange, you'll see that this is where my TV wall controller is. So if I want, I could move it into this corner and then I could go back into VDMX and you'll notice that the origin point has changed. Right, so 0,0 is my current screen, and then the 1728 by 1117 is the current arrangement of this. To make things easier, I'm just going to drag this down so that they're in line. I'm going to close this out, and now you'll see that if we essentially go to the right of my display resolution, you'll see that that's where this new display is starting. And so I'm going to go ahead and start creating output slices for this 4-way screen. So let's start by clicking New. If you'll notice, VDMX has created one here, and that's because this origin is currently 0,0. If I click on Prevent Mouse from Moving Outputs, I am now able to just drag this over to the other window. So you can see a live update of where it's at. Right now it's at this position. And I just want to bring it down into the lower left-hand corner of the second screen, which is 1728. So let's do 1728 by 0. And we can see that it is currently outputting at 640 by 480. And I know I want to do a quarter of the resolution of this screen, which is 1920 by 1080. And now we have just created a slice that is taking up 1/4 of that screen. So on our video wall controller, that is, it looks like HDMI 1, 2, 3. So that's HDMI 3 is that output. And for my source right now, we're pulling from the lower left-hand corner of this source image, which would be down here. And we're only taking 640 by 480 pixels out of it. So if I want to take the full resolution of that, I want 1920 by 1080. And now we're taking this output preview and sharing it here into 1/4 of the screen. So if I want, I can actually just take this and output it to 4 different parts of this, and then I have the same image going across 4 different things, but that's not as interesting as maybe taking each group and sending out that group. So right now I'm doing group 1, and I'll go ahead and start the process of creating the next quadrant that I want to create. So this one is going to be, the starting point is at 1728 by half this resolution. So let's do the math. So our X is going to be 728, and then we know we want to go up half the resolution, which just so happens to be 1080p. And let's make this one 1920 by 1080. And then let's change it from group 1 to group 2. And let's make the input source 1920 by 1080 as well. So now you can see that what's coming out of preview 2 is up on this top, and this one's in the bottom. Let's just, for visual, to make things make sense, let's just switch this back. So we want the first window to be at the top, so that'll be this one. And then we want the second window to be underneath that. That looks good. And now let's create our third. So we're going to go ahead, sort of repeat the same steps, except instead of 1728, we're going to actually move 1920 past that. So here's where we have to do a little math. We're going to do 1920 plus 1728. Let me pull this out so you can see it, which is 3648. And that will be our starting point. So 3648. And let's make this one 1920 by 1080. And 1920 1080. Let's just choose group 3 for this one. Or actually, we'll choose group 4. And we'll create one more window. So we know that we want this one to be group 3. And we're going to take this, and we're essentially doing the same thing. So we're just going to take this 3648. 3648. And then we're going to go up 1080p. And then I'm going to make this 1920 by 1080. And I'm going to make this 1920 by 1080. There we go. So now you can see that we have 4 unique inputs going to 4 different HDMI streams on the video wall scaler. And if you look over here, you can see that these red icons kind of show you where the previews are. If you want, you can always export this as a CSV file. So let's take a look at that. Okay, and if we look at the numbers, you can see that this is a pretty simple text document that lays out how VDMX is going to import this if you were to bring it into another project. Now that we have those advanced outputs set up, if we want, we can always just change the input. So let's just make this so that all 4 are mirroring the same display. You can start to experiment with switching up the different groups and where they go. Or maybe you want to use one of these video wall scalers as a device to just mirror different outputs. So let's just say that we do something like this, and now this can go to 2 different projectors. And maybe we want to mirror a few of them, like so. So I hope you found this tutorial useful. It's a quick way of showing you that this video wall controller can allow you to have multiple outputs out of a single 4K HDMI stream without breaking the bank. And it kind of goes over the advanced output tabs inside of VDMX and how you can rearrange things to get the most out of your VDMX projects. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at VIDVOX. And if you do anything cool, make sure to tag us so that we can share it with others. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments on this video or on the tutorial page on the VIDVOX website. All right, great. Thank you.